Best Available Podcast, episode 34. I'm going to pull my mic up here. We want to welcome you to our special MLB preview edition that we've been teasing for, I think, about a month. It is finally here, and we are excited to bring you guys along for this fun roller coaster ride. So we are recording a little late night BAP, which is always fun. We always get a little bit of hijinks, but you're going to have to listen to the entire show to find where those hijinks are. Matt, are you excited about baseball? It's just we kind of talked about it in one of our older podcast episodes, but just this time of year when March Madness going on, opening day comes by, the Masters is here, the weather's nice, the sun stays out longer, just everything seems better. There's a lot more positive vibes. Everyone's happier. Everything seems great.
Well, remember, this time last year was when everything was on fire, so we didn't really get to experience the joys that come with this time of the year. I mean, people always say, like the holiday season is the best time of the year, but in reality, like that first 70-degree day, right? We've had a couple now where we've kind of cracked the 70-degree mark for temperatures. That's when you start to really feel like baseball season's on the move. For me, Ryan, I am excited for baseball, but we're also in my favorite 3-week period of the year. So once the Final Four happens, then I'll get really into baseball with my mediocre baseball team. But yeah, it's the best time of the year for sure. And I think a good thing that'll help Major League Baseball this year is that the two leagues that are doing playoffs are going to be a little bit later on this year. So it's not like how opening day happens and then boom, you're in playoff basketball and hockey. This year you're going to get that in May, so a little bit more time to get eased into the baseball season. So it'll be good. I hope that stays that way too.
I'm excited for a full season of Major League Baseball. 2020 I realized what I was missing. I mean, it's always the best part of the baseball season. Even if your team's not good, there's always a game on. Every day, every night, you just toss it on, maybe have it on in the background. Maybe you're cleaning your house. Maybe you're just trying to get some tasks done. There's always something to have in the background during baseball season. 162 games from April to October. It's probably why it's my favorite sport. It's always there for you. Sometimes things aren't there for you, but baseball always is. At least it will be this year, knock on wood. And that's why I'm really excited about it.
Well, 60 games it wasn't enough for a sport like this, really any sport. I mean, 60 games, you don't really get an accurate gauge of things. You have the Miami Marlins being however many wins away from the World Series with the team that was projected to be towards the bottom of that division. It just didn't feel like baseball with no fans, right? The artificial crowd noise. This year will be better. For almost all MLB stadiums, there will be a reasonable amount of people in attendance. So it'll be cool to see, humans in stadiums. We're starting to get that in other sports too. Pretty exciting to see. So yeah, it'll be good. It definitely will feel more like baseball this season. I can't say I watched a lot last year just because of everything going on in the world. The fact that it just didn't feel the same, right? I mean, everything that went on with the players and the league in the month leading up to that 60-game season. So this year I have a much better taste in my mouth about, wanting to watch baseball.
Well, you brought up a good point, too, with the fans being back. I think watching it on TV, obviously, as people that like the sport, we can kind of feel like, this isn't the same with all the canned crowd noise. It just doesn't feel right. But I think more than ever this year, I've heard just the players talk about how nice it's going to be to actually have actual fans back in the stadium, just like the ambient noise when you're down on the diamond or in the dugout or you're at the plate on the mound. Some people, I've heard some, mostly Phillies interviews I've heard, they've said that it helps them calm down when they hear actual crowd noise. It just helps them, block out distractions, as weird as that sounds. So I'm hoping that everything stays according to plan, and then hopefully as the summer months come, maybe to early fall, we'll start to get even more fans into the ballparks than there normally are right now. But I'm just so excited, Matt. 162 game season, no DH in the National League. I was a little upset about that. That didn't pass. Maybe 2022. But you know what? I will say, I think the one positive thing about everything that happened last year I don't think the sport's going to get locked out because I think that they've realized how dangerous that could be to the overall well-being of the sport long term.
Yeah, it's such a complicated situation that I learned a lot about that relationship last year, right? You know, you have Jeff Passan going on Sports Center at like 10 o'clock at night because you're like, what am I going to do? There's no sports on. Might as well just put on Sports Center for, updates from Jeff Passan about the season, waiting for the KBO to start up. So I learned a lot about that bumpy relationship last year. I hope that there's no lockout. I mean, I know we really didn't live through some of the issues in the past, or at least we're old enough to really comprehend a lot of it. I think in terms of the fans, one thing too, just from a viewer point of view, when you're watching a basketball game or like a hockey game, when there's no crowd noise, at least you could still hear the players on the ice or on the court. You can hear the ball. There's very little sound in a baseball game. It's just dead silence in between pitches, right? Maybe you'll get a little bit of talking or like something, but having that noise as a viewer too, and not having to hear artificial crowd noise is my favorite part about all of it. And to your point about the fans also, if we could get up to 50% by like August or September, that's fine with me. I don't expect a full stadium, even though we're going to get one. I don't expect those. And I don't really care. 50% is a good number.
Well, we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We're just going to jump right into it. We'll talk about basically the big storylines, and we'll start in the National League West, which is, at least in my opinion, it's probably going to be the most intriguing division in the major leagues this season. You have the team has the best over-under win total in the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're projected to win. Their over-under is 102.5. San Diego Padres are third in Major League Baseball at 94.5. So this is going to be very top-heavy. It's going to be a battle to the end. It was a little scary a couple days ago when it came out that Fernando Tatis had done something to his shoulder in a spring training game, but they did get positive news back, and it seems like he'll be healthy. So the entire team, with the exception of Mike Clevenger, but we knew about that already, is going to be healthy. Well, and I think they just lost Kirby Yates, didn't they? Or did he? No, he got traded. Excuse what I say. I'm sorry. This is BAP Late Night Edition. But anyway, despite everything that San Diego's done, man, I don't think anybody can beat the Dodgers. They're just too. We've talked about how they're just too good. They have too many good players everywhere. I love the Padres. I've talked about it before, but the Dodgers are just so much better.
Yeah, I mean, to anyone who wants parity in sports, you're not going to find it here. I mean, the Dodgers have been dominant for the better part of our adult years or just, older years in life. It's kind of funny. You win the World Series, then you go out and you basically you add two Cy Young caliber pitchers at some point in their life, right? I mean, David Price, Trevor Bauer. People forgot David Price was part of the Mookie Betts deal. And then he just shows up the next year because he was an opt-out, and now you're like, oh, wow, he's got a full year off to rest. I think that's better for a guy like David Price. Interested to see how he handles the LA market. He was not a big fan of the Boston market. But listen, anytime a World Series champion goes out and adds two guys like that and keeps basically everyone important on that roster, you're going to do the same thing that you did the year before. That's my analysis. But, right, I mean, and it doesn't mean that it takes the excitement. I want to get out ahead of this take because people are going to say, well, it takes the excitement out of the game. It's just like the Warriors were or these other super teams. It's fun to watch teams like this because they're good and they play good baseball, right? Almost every game. So just appreciate it. You don't have to watch the Pittsburgh Pirates play. You could watch a good team play like the Dodgers.
I hate to use hyperbole, but barring injury, this might be one, you're alluding to it, this might be one of the best single seasons I see from a baseball team in my entire life. Just looking at the depth chart, from 1 to 9, their lineup is stacked. They have so many options on the bench. You have 3 of the top 20 starting pitchers in baseball. You bring up David Price. You have Julio Urias. That's a very enviable 4 or 5. Those guys are 1s and 2s in other rotations in baseball. They're the 4 or 5 here. You have a shutdown bullpen. You bring in Corey Knebel this offseason in January to just bolster that up. You didn't even need to. And let's say maybe one of those starting pitchers gets hurt, because that's what happens in Major League Baseball. Well, then you have Dustin May. You have all these options down in the minor leagues. Like, I I would take the over. Like, I legitimately think this team could win 110 games this year. This roster from top to bottom is stacked. I've never seen this before in my lifetime.
Well, their AAA team's better than probably 3 or 4 Major League Baseball teams, which is a conversation for another night of just how that happens. But again, this is better than that Red Sox team from our senior year, Ryan, that won 100-plus games and kind of tore through a lot of teams. This is better than some of those other 100-win teams we've seen in the past. I mean, I just don't see them disappointing, right? I mean, the narrative for the Dodgers for a while was they couldn't get over the final hump and win the World Series, and they finally did that last year. And once you establish that winning culture like that, it's hard to stop it. So, yeah, I mean, I have never seen, because even the Warriors, when they had that run, Ryan, and even the Patriots too in football, you did have roster turnover. The Dodgers had no roster turnover. The only turnover was them adding more players. So I don't know where ownership's getting the money from, but hey, if you got the money, you should spend it. And I think more teams should follow suit. I know a couple of our friends have said that. I agree with it as well. You have the money, use it. And they are.
It almost makes you feel a little bad for the Padres, because in almost any, not even almost, in any other division in baseball this year, the Padres would probably win it pretty comfortably. But because they share a division with the Dodgers, they have to get exposed to the wild card game, which I imagine they're going to win just fine too. I mean, the Padres roster isn't anything to sneeze at either. They're going to be in World Series contention for the entire season. Their lineup is very strong from top to bottom. You know, when your worst hitter is your catcher, Victor Caratini, who's, you know, he's pretty solid in his own right. They acquired him in the trade with the Cubs this offseason. You're doing pretty well. They have a pretty solid bench. Everyone's been talking about their starting rotation. You add 3 new arms this year, and you'll get Clevenger back after this upcoming season. To add to that, you still have Mackenzie Gore in the minor leagues. He'll be ready to go. You have Dinelson Lamet, who's injured right now. The bullpen is very, very good. A lot of shutdown arms there. Listen, I said this. I love the Padres. I love them to death. I love what they've been able to do there, especially in the market that they're in. And we've talked about how the Padres haven't really been good for most of our lives, but like this roster is stacked too. Like the number 1 guy on the roster, number 26, they're all incredible.
Oh, imagine being the second or third best team in baseball. Well, because you're in a division with the first place team in baseball, as you said, they're in the wild card game. You win that game, right, Ryan? Guess who you play in the second round in the division series? You play the Dodgers. So it almost, in a way, doesn't protect the 2 best teams in baseball to have them play in the division series, essentially the first round of your playoff format. So I don't know if Major League Baseball is happy about that. But one of those teams will advance, right? You're guaranteed one of them in the NLCS, but it robs us of a 7-game series between these 2 teams, which is a shame.
I don't know how you do it, but I think Major League Baseball needs to adjust their playoff format somehow to prevent that from happening. I don't know if it's just as easy as you wait until after the wild card game to determine where people go. I don't know if, for travel reasons, I don't know if that would ever be possible. I don't know if expanding the postseason does anything, but I agree. Like this should be, for all intents and purposes, the National League Championship Series, and that's not to, rain on the other teams in the National League, because there's other good teams, but this should be the NLCS. But it's not going to be because of the reasons you said.
Any team other than the Padres is going to lose in 5 games to the Dodgers, right? I can't sit there, and maybe you give Halper's Cardinals a 6th game, but are any of the other teams going to really put up a fight, as good of a fight as San Diego will in a 7-game series? No. This is the only, and what's the 2 best words in sports? Game 7, right? If you want to get something like that, you got to get your 2 best teams in there to do it. So it's a shame, but I was kind of hoping they would have expanded the playoff format. I don't know if the way they did it last year is the way to go. I think there's other ways you could go about it. If you want to do 6 teams, give 2 teams from each league a bye, do that. I don't know, but yeah, we talked about how everyone wants to add playoff teams. I think baseball should at least restructure it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't need to be 16. Again, that was just way too much. The way baseball rosters are constructed, there's not enough talent realistically for the 16th team in the Major League Baseball postseason to have any right to be there. And we saw it last year. There were teams under 500 that made it. You don't want that. But I do agree. I think we've reached a point where you need to add, as you said, maybe 6 teams, right? Or maybe even go to 8. I don't know, but 16, that's a little much for me. I think you know that's too much action. With nothing else going on last year, I loved it, but after some time to ponder it, it was a stupid idea.
But here's the flip side of it. San Diego goes into that division series. They beat the Dodgers. You lose your best team, your best moneymaker right off the bat. If you're Major League Baseball, you lose them before you even get to the first 7-game series, let alone the next one, which is the World Series. I mean, a Christmas scenario for them, Ryan, would be a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. That would be like, how you were the money man at the pizza restaurant, right? I mean, that would just be like dollar bills out, out the bank right there. But that would be a kind of a nightmare scenario for the Dodgers to lose. But it'll set up a nice little storyline. But I think both might win over 100 games.
Oh,
right?
I mean, absolutely, especially with a couple of the other teams in their division, the Rockies. I can speak from experience. The Rockies are going to be god awful this season. I don't think they win over 50 games, to be completely honest. The Diamondbacks, it doesn't seem like they're going to be very good. I think the Giants can maybe play around 500, maybe a little better, but just being up on the couple teams in their division is going to get them a lot of wins just right off the bat. So I think 100 for both teams is well within reason.
I couldn't name you 5 players on the Rockies, so I'll take your word for it. It's pretty sad that there's multiple Major League Baseball teams that are like that I can't. But it's like those teams are going to win like 50 to 60 games, and the roster is so top heavy on some of these other teams. But yeah, once we get to talk about some of the other divisions in baseball, like your division, Ryan, they're a lot closer than this one. But I can't remember the last time has been in our lifetime of multiple 100-win teams coming from the same division. Because it could happen, right? I mean, I've seen win totals for San Diego anywhere from like in the upper 90s. Why not?
No, there's a very realistic chance that it happens this year. It's not just a pipe dream. Like, there's a very realistic chance both of these teams win 100 games. By the way, I realized that when I was talking about expanding the postseason, my math was wrong. So I apologize. I was a comm major. I don't know numbers. I only know words. And also, I need the listeners out there to answer me this. If the owner of a restaurant came up to your table when you're just trying to enjoy a beverage, enjoy your food that you ordered, with your buddies, and tried to rush you out by asking who was going to pay, would you go back to that restaurant, yes or no? Let me know wherever you listen to this, because that's what Matt was referring to, and I'll tell you, I got real offended. So I don't know if I just reacted the wrong way, or if I'm right in my boycott of this particular restaurant, because I'm never going to step foot in there again.
We had like 30 minutes left. I mean, they weren't approaching. We were finishing up our food. Like, we were going to go in a couple minutes, but yeah, your feathers were ruffled that night. That's for sure. You were not appreciative of that comment.
I say I get perturbed about a lot of things. I really got perturbed when that happened to me. I'm not going to name the restaurant. No free publicity, but. Moving on. You know what? That restaurant is on the East Coast, so let's move to the East Coast for a second. We talked about the most intriguing division, which is going to be the NL West, just because of the Padres and the Dodgers. But, I mean, both the AL East and the NL East have reasons for intrigue on their own. We can go to the AL East first, I guess, and, kind of flip-flop from NL to AL. The Yankees have the second highest projected win over under, or maybe not projected, it's not the right word, but They're over under 95.5 wins. So health is always the big issue with this Yankees team. But if they do stay healthy, maybe they do that. Matt, I'm going to be honest with you. I know we're going to have some people that listen that are going to flame me for it. I don't see it with this team. I'm not trying to be a hot take artist. I'm not trying to elicit a reaction. It's just I look at this Yankees team. I'm not impressed at all. Maybe they win a lot of games in the regular season. I don't think they get that over 95.5. I would go under, and I don't think they have what it takes to make a World Series run. I mean, is it just? It's not bias or anything, but is it crazy for me to say that?
I mean, I'm not really impressed with any team in the American League for a variety of reasons that we'll talk about with some of the other top teams. I'm not really impressed with anybody. I see where you're coming from, Ryan, but I also, just from experience of this division, I mean, they're going to kind of back their way into a division title regardless. People are going to tell me, well, Tampa Bay is coming off a World Series, appearance. But yes, they traded away half their team. I want to preface by saying that Toronto, I think, still, building. The Red Sox or whatever. And then you got all those games against the Orioles. So there you go. I mean, I see where you're coming from with the roster.
My thing is that for years, and a Yankees fan that will listen to this has said the exact same thing multiple times. For years, this team has needed to work on their starting rotation. And yet their way to address, they signed Garrett Cole last year. I get that. Good. That great use of your money in a big market to sign Garrett Cole. That I agree with that. Good move. But this offseason, when you lose Tanaka, that's already one hole. You're going to be without Severino still for a little bit. Your response to that was to get Jameson Taillon, which, listen, I was a big Taillon guy when he was with Pittsburgh. I don't know if that was the best acquisition you could have made. And Corey Kluber, a guy who I really don't think is going to fit in well in the AL East pitching for the Yankees. And then you're the end of your rotation, Jordan Montgomery, who I think he has the tools. He's never shown them consistently. And then Domingo Germán, I don't think he should be in Major League Baseball. That's a different discussion. I get the bullpen has pieces. I get your lineup has guys that can just hit the ball all over the place, out of the park. But at the end of the day, you need starting pitchers you can rely on. I don't think this team has that. Even if when Severino comes back, I don't think you can rely on him this year. That's just not how it works for a guy coming back from his injury.
Yeah, it's been, and we lived in the New York market, going to school for a couple of years, and you heard the same thing, right? We criticize the starting pitching. I think they're going to miss Tanaka a lot more than they think. I'm happy that they're talking themselves into Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon. That's great. I mean, listen, as my arch rival, I'm happy for them that they found what makes them happy. I don't know if I would be happy with that, just because I think you need more. I just think they got those guys and they kind of expected to get more, and then they didn't, and then just settle with that, right? There's still probably some people out there too, because Major League Baseball is so weird to where some top free agents still just are kind of out there hanging out, right? I mean, not so much top, but there's probably some guys that are still out there, Ryan, that could be serviceable more so than Jordan Montgomery. And again, no disrespect to Jordan Montgomery, but I don't know. I feel like it's just a Band-Aid on the issue. There's no real fix to it.
It just, for me, I trust the Rays more. Even if they don't win as many games as the Yankees in the regular season, I just trust them more to have the right pieces and strategies in place to make a run. People can hate on Kevin Cash all they want. Oh, he just does these stupid games with his pitchers. He pulls them too early. All right, I get that. He pulled Blake Snell too early in the World Series game. I agree with you on that. Whatever. But there's a reason this team has been so successful. It's that they know what to do even if they're not getting big-ticket names. And it's just, I trust a rotation. It's going to be really weird to say. I trust the rotation of Glasnow, Yarbrough, Archer, Rich Hill, and Michael Wacha, and their opener strategies with the bullpen. I trust their entire pitching staff more than I trust the Yankees. And I think their offense is more than capable of doing enough to be successful. That's just the way I see it. I know I can tell you disagree a little bit.
Well, as much as I hate to say it, I think New York, you just kind of got to take them until they lose kind of thing. Tampa Bay, I think listen, they've been doing this for their entire existence, and I give them credit. They've done it. They've created 2 World Series appearances out of it for a team that, like the Oakland Athletics really has no reason being competitive, right? Just these really small, low budget kind of operations in like these iffy facilities and all kinds of stuff. Speculation on if they're going to move or not, like all that noise, and they succeed. I get it, but at the end of the day, who has the capital to go out and make deals at the deadline to go out and add stuff and bolster the roster? It's going to be the Yankees, right? So if we get to July, right, and they're sitting there and they're in a position to where they're maybe one player away from really being good and solidifying themselves, they are more suited to do that. So I'll always go with the bigger market in baseball, just because this sport especially, it's so hard to win as a small market team. We saw what the Dodgers were able to do last year against one of the smallest markets in the Rays. So I don't know. I think they're going to try and do this thing, Ryan, one too many times, and it's going to bite them. Tampa Bay, I'm referring to, right? Just trying to lowball it, go through and just trade all your best players and keep trying to replenish. At some point, those guys are going to flop. So I don't know. I think they're going to do it one too many times.
If I'm wrong, tweet me, email me, send me a letter, whatever. I like the Rays more than the Yankees this year. That's just how it is. Maybe, as I said, maybe the Rays don't get as many regular season wins, but I still think they make a deeper run. Well, I know you're not as high on the Rays, but what do you think about the Blue Jays? They're a team that's getting a lot of steam this year. Their over/under is 86.5, which is, I think, in the top 10 for Major League Baseball teams. If not, it's like 11th. I know that they are. I said Kirby Yates earlier. He is with the Toronto Blue Jays now. They signed him in January. He's unfortunately going to be out for the year with Tommy John. But even without him, I still like the team as a whole. I don't know if I like them. I think offensively they'll be better than Tampa Bay. Pitching-wise, I have a couple question marks, especially now in the bullpen without Kirby Yates there. But, I mean, they have some tantalizing potential. I think if these guys live up to it, I mean, they could maybe even – they're probably going to be a popular sleeper team, and I could see that.
Well, I think there's a lot of teams that kind of fit into the 80 to 90 win window in the American League. There's not a lot of teams that like super teams, or teams that are going to run away with the division like we see in the National League. And Toronto fits into that. And if you take advantage of those games against those other teams that are on your level, you're going to put yourself in a very good position when it comes time for wild card stuff and seeding and all that stuff. I'll give you something that has nothing to do with stats, rosters, whatever, Ryan. They don't have a ballpark again, right? They're going to play in spring training facility for the first 2 homestands, probably more if I had to be a guessing man. I can't imagine, based off our current COVID situation in our country, that our neighboring country is going to be so willing to kind of open it up to let Toronto go in and out. So they'll be at a spring training facility for, I think, multiple months. And how much that factors into how things go, right, in terms of hitting, pitching, we'll see. But I think that's definitely a factor that should be talked about a little more, because at the end of the day, too, I mean, they spent the entire season in like a hotel in Buffalo, right? And I know that was only for a couple months, but I mean, I unfortunately never got to go to Buffalo, so I don't know what the experience is like, but I can't imagine being there for 2.5 months is very great. So having the same experience in Florida, we'll see. But it could just be for two home stands, right, Ryan? Their first couple home stands, but I think they're going to be down there for most of the year.
Clint Frazier was not a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays facility that they'll be playing at for, as you said, probably for a little longer than people are expecting. He said, obviously, it doesn't have a third deck, and there were really high skies. The wind was blowing like crazy hard out there. It's hard to see because of the way the seats have all the reflections off of them. Unfortunately, we're going to have to play at it a few times probably. Grow up. All right? Like, really? You're going to make excuses?
Well, I also am in the belief that they could do better than a spring training facility. I'm not talking they in Toronto because I don't think it's necessarily their responsibility. I think they should get some help from Major League Baseball or other parties, but I think you could do better than a however many seat spring training facility. I think there's other options that have to be out there, right? I mean, just find some AAA ballpark like you did last year. You don't have to do it in Buffalo. You could do it in Florida. You could do it anywhere.
My point, though, is like other players are playing in the field. They're not complaining about the sun. Like, really? Is that like, come on, just you're a professional baseball player. Grow up. Get used to it. Adapt. All right? I don't know. That just irked me the wrong way. But I agree with you on your point. Maybe it would have been nice to not play in a A-level ballpark in terms of just the optics of it, but
there's only so much you could do to make it look nice, right? Because the camera angle is going to be probably super low. It's going to look like a spring training game. It's not going to have all the amenities and all that stuff. I mean, look at all the work. It took them so long just to get that Buffalo stadium ready to go. So, again, I don't know what the effect that takes on a Major League Baseball player. Obviously, Quint is not a very big fan of it, but in terms of the guys that are going to be playing there for their, as their home park with the Blue Jays, I don't know. Probably takes the wind out of your sails a little bit, right? All the excitement on opening day, and you're still down there at a spring training, it feels like.
I want to say this. TD Ballpark is my desktop background. So I'm more maybe preferential to it than a lot of other people. I think it looks beautiful. I get maybe there's not as many seats as you would expect, and there's not as many amenities. I think it's a nice looking ballpark. As I said, maybe I'm a little biased because it is my desktop background. I think it looks nice. I think it looks presentable.
Yeah, but for 160 or for 81 games, Ryan, 81 games,
I think you could do it. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you,
it would be a nightmare scenario if they win that division and they got to play a playoff game down there. That would be a nightmare scenario for Major League Baseball.
This is a nice picture. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even think they're going to get back to Toronto this season.
No, probably not.
I find it very hard to believe that. I think the NHL will be lucky to run it back next year with their normal kind of go at it. Yeah. Get used to what town, city in Florida is this in?
I think it's
Dunedin.
Yeah, I think it's Dunedin.
Oh, they might as well get like a Airbnb or something down there. You're going to be down there a while.
Well, let's try to get the positive vibes back. Well, we might not get the positive vibes back because I do want to give you a chance to talk about your team, the
stink.
Boston Red Sox.
They stink. Keep going.
You add 3 new players to the lineup, and Enrique Hernandez, Hunter Renfroe, Marwin Gonzalez. You get some new bullpen pieces, one all the way from Japan, Hirokazu Sawamura. Chris Sale's going to be coming back sometime this year. What are you thinking? Are they going to be in the playoff race? Have they made enough moves?
Yeah, I've talked myself in and out of the Red Sox for the past 3 weeks.
Good.
They'll be watchable, which I'm happy about, unless they start trading all these guys at the deadline and give me no reason to watch in August and September, which could happen. I think the Kike Hernandez pickup was my favorite personally, because I think he was one of the most underappreciated members of those Dodgers teams, and I think they're going to miss Kike Hernandez in some capacity. I mean, the guy could play anywhere. Like, literally almost anywhere. And he's basically like a better version of Brock Holt. And Brock Holt was such a key member of our teams for a number of years. We got a younger, better version of him. So, happy about that. Our rotation still kind of stinks. Everyone keeps telling me Nick Pivetta is going to be pretty good. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. You told me, Garrett Richards might be a sneaky pickup. He stinks. That's great. Eduardo Rodriguez is back, though, which is nice. Had some really bad COVID side effects last year, so I didn't get to watch him. But he's our number one starter right now. I mean, we're going to get Chris Sale back whenever. I don't know what that's worth anymore. You said good vibes, Ryan. I'm not getting good vibes from this. I mean, it's just like an average team. We're average. That's all right. I'd rather be average than win 40 games like the Rockies.
Well, Matt, if you like average teams, you're going to love the National League Central. I really think the winner of this division might be 3 games over 500 and make the playoffs. I mean, it's got to be the Cardinals, right? Are we in agreement that they just probably win this by default?
Yeah, all the other teams kind of stink in their own right. And it's kind of a shame, too, because teams like Cincinnati kind of had their moment last year, right? And they looked like a pretty decent team, and they just weren't able to keep some of those pieces. And I don't know. I don't know what Chicago's doing. I don't really know what Milwaukee's doing either. But good for the Cardinals. There you go, Nick. You're going to get a second round date with the Dodgers or Padres in the NLCS. So have fun with that.
It's just, yeah, I feel like the Cardinals were the one team in that division to like make some concerted effort to be good in 2021. I mean, they're like the Reds have some guys in their lineup that I like, but their pitching staff isn't very good in my opinion. The Cubs seem to just be on a free fall, and I think it's only going to get worse when some more guys leave. They brought Jake Arrieta back. Woo yay, enjoy that. The Pirates, we talked about. We don't need to talk about them. I think the only team in this division that has a chance is the Brewers, and that's me optimistically assuming that their lineup performs as it should. Yelich gets back to his MVP levels, and the rotation proves that last year wasn't a fluke. Like Corbin Burns pitches as well as he should. Brandon Woodruff is a true ace. The bullpen, you don't trade Josh Hader. You keep Devin Williams. Everyone does well there. But that's a pretty, there's a lot of ifs with the Brewers. Like, at least with the Cardinals, it's like, all right, lineup should be top half of the league. Pitching staff, you got a true ace. You got some guys behind there that should be able to pitch at least average. Bullpen's okay. I don't know. I can see it more for the Cardinals than I can with the Brewers. I think the Brewers have the higher ceiling, but I trust the Cardinals a little more.
This division is just the some guys division, right? Every team's got some guys, but you don't have enough guys. I can't really give you an educated response on teams 2 through 4, right? The teams we just talked about, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Cincinnati. I agree with you, Milwaukee. I mean, listen, Milwaukee was a really good team a couple years ago, and they still have some of those pieces there. I think they're another victim of the small market kind of bias in this league to some extent, which is a shame because I like Milwaukee. I always kind of liked the atmosphere there in terms of just, Miller Park is kind of an interesting ballpark. The Cubs, though, Ryan, I don't really know what they're doing.
I know what they're doing. They're being cheap. That's exactly what they're doing. They could have kept the team together if they wanted to. They could have signed free agents. They just won the World Series a few years ago. They're in Chicago. Why is
everyone being cheap? I mean, listen, I know what the Red Sox are doing. They're being cheap. But, the Cubs, I mean, I feel like this division is so easily winnable to where it's not like the Red Sox to where you have to compete with the Yankees, Rays, and Blue Jays. If the Cubs go out and if any of these teams other than the Pirates go out and get like a Nolan Arenado, right, just one guy, then instead of some guys, you have enough guys to win, right? I mean, it does not take a lot to win this division, in my opinion. So why not go out and do it? You're the Chicago Cubs. You've won the World Series in the past 5 years. So I just don't know what they're doing. I haven't known what they're doing for the past couple of years. I mean, I really wasn't impressed with how they looked last season, especially in the playoffs. I mean, I know they lost to a red-hot Marlins team, but at the same time, they looked like they just had nothing going for them in that series.
I love Kyle Hendricks. He shouldn't be your ace pitcher. That's it. A team with Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez should not have an expected win total of 79.5. I mean, just look at this division. The Cardinals are at 86.5. The Reds 82.5. The Brewers 82.5. The Cubs 79.5. And the Pirates 58.5. We don't got to talk about them. Like, this is going to be the most average division in the major leagues. This is not going to be fun to watch. This is for the hardcore fans. This is like their division. This is not for the casual fan.
Well, I mean, you look at just some of the guys that are still hanging out on their roster. You have Jason Hayward, who, say whatever you will, it's just not the same player. You have guys like Jake Arrieta coming back for round 2, right? Former Philly, one of your guys. He's back there now. You got one of my former guys, Craig Kimbrell, who, I mean,
No.
Just he's not Craig Kimbrell anymore. He's just not it. So, it's great that they have big names or at least recognizable names, but I'm telling you, it does not take much to win this division. And they're just kind of being cheap, as you said. But yet again, everybody's being cheap in Major League Baseball, except for like 3 teams. So,
Well, the NL Central is going to be average. The AL Central, there should be an intriguing race. The Tigers, they're still rebuilding. If John Source listens to this, Johnny, I know you're a Royals fan. I will say this, they're over under 72.5. I do think they go over. I think they'll be better than people expect, but this is not their time yet. But people are going to be watching the Twins. They're going to be watching the White Sox. And that's probably better. I think Cleveland just doesn't have they don't have the pieces right now. So it's going to be the Twins and the White Sox. The White Sox, unfortunately, were dealt a major blow with Eloy Jimenez, unfortunately going to be out for 5 to 6 months. I'm going to say this on the podcast. I might incite a little, this might be a little far. I don't feel bad. Like, don't go robbing a home run in a meaningless spring training game that's 8 feet over your head. No reason to do that. Just let it go over your head. I get that you're trying to compete. It doesn't matter. Just be healthy for the regular season. So I can't feel bad about that. I see some people saying, "Oh, that's such a shame." I can't feel bad about it. I'm sorry. But Matt, the biggest story with the White Sox this offseason, it wasn't players that they acquired like Lance Lynn or Adam Eaton or Liam Hendricks. It wasn't the emergence of their young talent. It's that they went and got a manager that it seemed like, unless you were like an old boy, it seemed like everybody hated this move. And I worry that this roster is not going to achieve what they could because Tony La Russa is there. That's my biggest worry with this team, that he's going to get in the way somehow.
Well, I said it back in, what was it, November when they hired him, December. I just think that baseball is starting to transition into this new generation, right? We're embracing analytics. We're embracing the bat flips. We're unwriting the unwritten rules, we're getting rid of unwritten rules. We're making baseball fun, right? For this new generation, like our age and even younger, this new wave of fans. So to go back in time, right? I'm pretty sure the last time he was in a Major League Baseball dugout had to be like 2011, right? So we're going back like at least a decade, 2012 maybe.
Was he there when they won the World Series, or when they made the World Series in 2013?
Maybe, but like,
or was that
definitely at some point in high school he would for us. So like between 2011 and 2015, he stopped being there. So to go back in time, grab him, come all the way back now into a new time, because baseball 10 years ago, Ryan, was still totally different. We still had like Ron Gardenhire, Mike Scioscia. Give me some more names of these older, like Charlie Manuel, like Terry Francona, like just. We're going back into this other generation. We're bringing it into this now. That's analytics, math equations, bat flips, excitement, Twitter highlights, non-blacked out games, all kinds of new stuff for Major League Baseball that we're entering into. And we're going back in time. I just think it's a recipe for not great headlines. And I have a perfect example for it, but I'm going to tell you off the air just because it'll make more sense and I can explain it more, but there's a perfect parallel to this in another sport.
You were correct. La Russa's final year was 2011. He was not there in 2013. That was Mike Matheny. That's the thing. Like, he's been out of the dugout for a decade. He's been out of the dugout for a decade. The people that have defended this hire, I see the argument, oh, well, this guy is, he's a really smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He'll be able to adapt. I don't think it works that way anymore. I don't care what you did 10, 20, 30 years ago. That's not the way the sport works. That's not the way these players like to play. These players like to act. Like, I don't know what he does. Like, what can he realistically do for this team that's going to suddenly make them better than they were? Like, nothing.
Provide wisdom.
See, and like, that's the stupidest. That's what people argue that. That's part of their argument. It's like, oh, well, he's going to impart some really good things for these kids. Like, that's not how any of this works. Like, that that commercial, right, where the women are posting the pictures on the wall and they're acting like it's Facebook, like you like that picture. That's not how any of this works. All right? Like the only things that can happen because of this hire are bad things. The only things that can happen for the White Sox is that they underachieve because this guy is there. You had so many other options to bring in as a manager, but you want to bring in the guy that hasn't been in a dugout in 10 years? It's so stupid. So stupid.
I'm just telling you, the game is just totally different. Like, this past 10 years for Major League Baseball, we have really come into the 21st century. As I just said, like easier accessible highlights, easier accessible games, bat flips, hitting a grand slam in the 8th inning of a game when you're already up by 10 runs. Stuff like this is what we want now. We want this excitement. I can't imagine a dynamic between guys like Tim Anderson and La Russa are going to go over well. I cannot imagine that. Or even guys like, I don't know, Michael Kopech, right? Is he still kind of kicking around that organization? I mean, just some of these other guys, they're not going to vibe with them. So, yeah, I'm taking the Twins in this division, Ryan. We're in this new wave for really any sport where I would say outside of maybe hockey, getting all these younger guys in the coach, right? We see it in football, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay. We've seen it in the NBA as well. We're seeing it in all kinds of different sports where we're going in the younger direction. And the NFL is kind of a weird example because you have like Vic Fangio, who got a head coaching job too. He's on the older side. But for baseball, I don't know. It's just a generational gap. It's going to be so hard for him to connect to the players. I mean, look at Alex Cora, right? Alex Cora legitimately got caught up in a cheating scandal, was fired, came back a year later after the whole thing happened, and the players play for him because he embraces this new kind of wave of baseball. So the fact that Alex Cora, Ryan, a guy who, again, got caught up in a cheating scandal, is now back in baseball and revered by everyone in the Red Sox organization just speaks miles about this hire for Tony La Russa and how that got more negative publicity than bringing Cora back. Most people don't even know Cora's back on the Red Sox. So that's the comparison I'll draw there.
The team that the White Sox are going to be probably going up against is a team that I commend for at least trying to improve their roster for 2021, and that's the Minnesota Twins. You bring in Andrelton Simmons, you sign J.A. Happ and Matt Schumacher for your rotation. And admittedly, I don't know what those two guys have left in the tank and what they're going to do, but all right, they tried to make an effort at least. Alex Colome and Hansel Robles for the bullpen. I think that's going to be more important for the additions. This is another team, Matt, where I kind of equate them to the Yankees a little bit. They have a really good lineup with guys that can just slam the ball out of the ballpark, but the pitching might be their downfall. I get you have Kenta Maeda and Jose Barrios there. Maybe Michael Pineda puts together a consistent season, but I don't see where the pitching comes from, and you need pitching.
I think the biggest issue for them is just running into the Yankees in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think... And, I mean, I know they had a tough loss against Houston last year, too. And I think you were the only one on our site that picked Houston, so pat yourself on the back. I think it's just playoff disappointment is this team's main enemy. I don't think it's pitching. I don't think it's hitting. I don't think it's, management. I just think they just flop in the playoffs, to be honest with you. I mean, they've put together some solid seasons over the past 3 to 4 years. I agree they went out and made an effort, and it's going to be hard to make an effort, Ryan, when you're the Minnesota Twins, and for the first 2 months of the season you're playing in 40-degree weather compared to the Dodgers and the Padres, right? You're just not going to get a lot of people to come play for you. That's just the reality of the situation. It's not like you're the Red Sox to where it's cold, as anything up there, because they're the Red Sox, and it's just different. So I commend them for trying. I agree with you, but their enemy is the playoffs.
I really want to believe in this Twins team. I really want to think that they can finally live up to what they're supposed to do. But you were this way with the Cleveland Browns. You have to see it and then you'll believe it. I need the Twins to make me believe that they can do something, and then I'll start to believe in them. Let's go back out west. Why not? We'll go to the AL West. Yeah, man, this division is not it. The Rangers are going to be bad. The Mariners, they're building something good there. It ain't going to happen this year. They're going to be bad. The Angels, we'll get to them in a second. I want to start with the Astros, and the reason I see a lot of people writing off the Houston Astros, writing them off for dead because they're not as strong as they once were, this, that, and the other. I get that the cheating scandal is still in the back of people's heads, and this team is hated by almost everybody. I don't think people should be writing off the Houston Astros. I like the Houston Astros on paper this season. I know that people say, oh, well, you no longer have Justin Verlander there in that starting rotation. You lose Garrett Cole last year to the Yankees. You still have Greinke. You have McCullers. I like Jose Urquidy. I like Christian Javier. You signed Jake Odorizzi. I like the bullpen with guys like Ryan Presley, Joe Smith, Blake Taylor, Ryan Stanek. The lineup is still very good, very powerful. Now you get Jordan Alvarez, hopefully for a full season. Kyle Tucker, hopefully for a full season. Add that to the lineup of Bregman, Correa, Altuve, Brantley. That's still a good team. I don't think people should be just dismissing the Houston Astros. They're still going to be in the hunt.
Yeah, they'll probably win around 87 to like 92 games. I mean, some of the teams are playing in their division. I don't really buy into a lot of those other squads. They kind of just win by default. I'm not going to really pat them on the back, though, Ryan, because, you know, they cheated, so they don't really get a lot of sympathy from me. But at the same time, you know, they're the better team. They have the more talent, as you said. I like the fact that they were able to keep Michael Brantley, which I think was a big or an underrated thing for them to be able to keep someone of that caliber. Obviously, you still have, you know, the most hated core in baseball of Altuve, Bregman, Correa. I think this will be a big season, right? Because Correa's contract's coming up pretty soon. You're going to have to make a decision there. It's a big season for them. It really is, because you're approaching a turning point to where you can't cheat anymore. Some of your guys are starting to leave. Springer's gone. Garrett Cole's gone. Verlander's not getting any younger. So, yeah, you're approaching a crossroads. So this is an important season for them.
I think I've always been a big Oakland Athletics guy. I still think I probably like them to win the division. I think the combo of Chapman and Olsen in the middle of that lineup is among the best duos in the entire league. I like their pitching staff, especially when AJ Puck comes back. Matt, what do you think about the Athletics this year? Let me ask you that. I think so. The over/under for this team is 87.5. I find it hard to believe they don't win at least 90.
I hope they do. I think Oakland, especially in a playoff atmosphere, is something to love, right?
Yeah.
We saw it when the Warriors were in Oakland for all those years when the Warriors were in the finals. We saw it with the Raiders, right? How much the Raiders are going to miss, the black hole and everything. As crappy of a ballpark as the Athletics have, I mean, it's just a great atmosphere. And you want to root for the team, right? I mean, we grew up watching Moneyball. We want to pull for the Athletics, right? I mean, it's just like this team that is like the Rays, except it's a more better facility and just, cooler uniforms, all that kind of stuff on just the stylistic side of it. And I think they do have a solid roster. I mean, I think the big thing, again, we talked about the menace for the Twins being the playoffs. The menace for the Athletics is just the fact that they're in the same division as the Astros. And I think they fell victim to the whole cheating thing for a number of years. It's like the big what if with the Athletics. And then when they get into the playoffs, too, they flopped a couple times, too. Remember the wild card game a couple years ago against the Rays. So they're my Cleveland Browns, Ryan. I want to see it. And I'm not talking about regular season games because they've won a good amount of regular season games over the past however many years. But again, they're my Cleveland Browns. Get in the playoffs and show me something.
I think my Cleveland Browns. Well, I can't say that because I've always been very high on the Angels. Last year, I really talked up their pitching staff.
No,
and
stop
then
it.
Hold on.
They stink. They stink.
I got to make my case here. Hold on. I really think that this is the year that they can put it all together. It hinges a lot on Shohei Ohtani and if he can stay healthy. Based on what I've seen in spring training, I know you shouldn't put a lot of stock into spring training stats. The guy is doing things we've never seen before on a baseball field, especially as a two-way player. I really think if he is able to pitch and hit consistently, this is going to be a dangerous team because you add him to the rotation that already has Dylan Bundy, that has Andrew Heaney, that has Griffin Canning. You bring in Jose Quintana as a free agent. You bring in Alex Cobb in a trade. You bring in 5 new bullpen pieces to completely revitalize that part of your team. The offense will be fine. I'd like it a lot more if Albert Pujols wasn't there, but irregardless, I think the Angels could could surprise some people this year. I think that this is the year. You know what? I'll say it.
Yeah, they're going to surprise you how bad they are. We do this every year. Ryan.
Matt, let me have this, please. Let me have my Los Angeles Angels are going to be good this year. Put it, Sharpie it. We're going to Sharpie that. Los Angeles Angels, they're going to be good this year. They're my sleeper team.
All right, I'm going to debunk this theory now because Zach did the same thing last year in the group chat. He said the Angels are going to win all these games. They're going to be so great. I have never been a believer in the Angels. Listen, ever since Pujols went out there, people were saying every year we're trying to justify the Angels being good and putting them in the playoffs. Then the Astros got good. We kind of forgot about the Angels. Kind of sucks that they play in the same city as the Dodgers, right? So that's in and of itself. They never really got a lot of attendance to begin with. On top of that, they just have flopped. I'm never going to... I appreciate that you have faith in them. I'm not doing it anymore. I've done it in the past. I've said the Angels are going to be good, and then people forget about them. I used to feel bad for Mike Trout, but then he signed that big deal, and now I don't feel bad for him. So if they stink anymore, that's on you, Mike. That's great that they got all those bullpen pieces. It's great that they have all these guys that could hit. It's great they have Ohtani. That's cool. They'll win 80 games. 82. There you go. 82. They'll have a winning record, Ryan. Have fun with that. 82 games.
The Angels are making the playoffs in 2021. Write it down. This is the year. I've said this is the year for the past 5 years. This is really the year. I was kidding those other years. It's been
the same thing, I'm telling you, since Pujols went there.
No, but it'll be different this year.
We've said that every year. I'm trying to think of, they went from like the C.J. Wilson and Jared Weaver years, and then I'm trying to think of just some of the other names that have come and gone, and we're trying to, Zach Greinke, I think, had a little pit stop there at one point, right? There's a reason why these guys are coming and going, right? Zach Greinke looks pretty good now on the team in that division. So there must be a reason why these guys are coming and going here. So
listen, if it's good enough for Matt Vasgersian, it's good enough for me. Angels are in the playoffs.
It's good enough for Matt Vasgersian because he gets to live in Los Angeles. I think that's what it is, Ryan. He gets to look out at, the freeway or whatever, have the little waterfall or river on the, the left center field. It's that's why he's out there. I would take that job too. Live in Los Angeles, call a 500 baseball team.
No, this is their year. We're going to move to the NL East. That's the last thing I'm going to say. I want to get the last word in Angels playoffs. NL East, this should be an intriguing division. I don't think it's as intriguing as the NL West but this should be fun to follow for all baseball fans. So the Braves are probably going to be your favorite, just because they've shown it. They're the more complete team. They have good World Series odds right now. I think they're among the best odds out of the entire league. But Matt, I really think that the Phillies are going to win at least 95 games this year. I'm not being biased. I'm being completely objective with this. I really think it seems like people are writing the Phillies off because of what has happened the past few years, especially with the pitching side of things and the bullpen. I really think that this is their year. I really think they can surprise a lot of people and be a dark horse team. Tell me I'm crazy.
I'm happy that you think that, Ryan.
Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me that I'm wrong, and tell me that they're not going to win 95 games at least.
No, I think it's going to be tough to win 95 games in the division with all these other teams that could pick off a game from you here and there.
Who's in the division?
The
I'm not scared about
Mets.
I'm not scared about the Nationals. I'm not scared of the Mets. I'm not scared of the Marlins. I'm not scared of the. I am kind of scared of the Marlins because the Phillies don't play well against them. I'm not scared of the other teams. And maybe
It's
this
good
is
that
the
you
year
got
that we
JT back. That's cool that
that's
you
what
got
I'm
him.
the Phillies were one of the only teams that spent money this offseason to improve
Yeah,
the
one
team.
guy.
No, we signed JT back. We signed Didi back. We brought in Matt Joyce for the bench. We brought in Matt Moore and Chase Anderson for the rotation. We brought in 5 different people for the bullpen.
No, wait. No. You can't rip the Yankees for just having like going out and getting Tyone and Kluber, and then you're gonna say, oh well, we got Matt Moore and Chase Anderson backing up the end of our
difference
rotation.
is the difference is they were good additions. Like I don't like what the Yankees are doing because I don't think Kluber is going to be good. But Moore and Anderson, they're going to be good, solid options in the back end of our rotation.
Sure.
You pair them with Nola, Wheeler, and Eflin. That's an enviable rotation. There's not a lot of teams that can match that.
I forgot Matt Moore was playing baseball.
Okay,
and then he popped up on my Twitter feed, and then I was reminded that he was a baseball player. Because he went.
He did.
What,
You're right. He went to Japan, and listen, this is a positive. They pitched more innings last year because Japan actually figured out how to manage a global pandemic, and so Matt Moore has more innings on his arm. That's a crucial skill for 2021. A lot of these pitchers, they didn't pitch that many innings last year. Moore did. He's ready to go. He can pitch a lot of innings this year. So that was a good addition. It gets us a lefty in the rotation. Chase Anderson's going to be good. The bullpen I'm excited for. If the Phillies bullpen wasn't historically awful last year, they would have made the playoffs. This year, it's going to be top 10 in baseball. Write it down. I put that in the group chat. I'm putting it here. Hector Neris, Archie Bradley, Jose Alvarado, Brandon Kinsler, Tony Watson, Connor Brogdon, JoJo Romero. That is a good bullpen, dude. This team's going to be great. I've talked myself into it.
Hasn't Matt Moore struggled with injuries in his career, too? Are we going to talk about that a little bit? I mean, I'm looking at... I don't really know the context between some of these games played here, but like I see a 3 on here, a 2 on here, 12 okay. Again.
All right.
Another 2. Those are I'm going, that's like 4 or 5 years right there. Again, I'm not looking up the injury history or the context, but I'm just looking at the numbers. So tell me I'm wrong.
Listen, this year, especially with Caleb Cotham as the new pitching coach, I have all my faith in Caleb. He's a really smart guy. Never met him, but he seems like he's smart. He's going to get these pitchers where they need to be. They're going to stay healthy. They got depth. They can make some moves if they need to. Dave Dombrowski was a great addition. Okay.
I got another one for you. 39 games played with the Rangers in his last full season in 2018. I know you're not an ERA guy, but you want to guess what his ERA was in 39 games and 12 starts?
All right. Well, the problem...
6.79. The year before, 5.52. The year before that, 4.48. That was that for the previous year, too. The year before that, 5.43. So we're going back to 2014, Ryan, to a sub-3 ERA, which was 2.70 in 2014.
But his FIP was better the other years. Like, so the problem with that is that Matt Moore, like, he started off well, and then he kind of got away with what made him good, and then he dealt, injury issues, whatever. But this year, I think he's figured it out. This is going to be a perfect example. A guy goes over to Japan, works on his game, gets his confidence back, comes back to Major League Baseball, and just shuts everybody down. I'm confident in it. It's going to happen.
He also gave up 200 hits in 2017.
Listen, that's the past. We're only talking about the present. The present is that he's going to be a really good addition.
He gave up 200 hits in 32 games. So.
Okay, so the other teams in the division...
No, wait. What's the average per game on that? Let's see here.
So the Atlanta
200
Braves...
divided by...
Let's take a look here at the Atlanta Braves roster.
Gave up basically 6 hits a game, at least, average. Over how many innings? ESPN doesn't have that. Why don't they have the innings? Oh, here it is. I don't feel like doing the math. Anyway, have fun with that, Ryan. I'm going to stand up for my Yankee fan friends in our group chat. You can't criticize Tyone and then justify Matt Moore. You can't do it.
No, you guys will all see. You're gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna come back to this audio in like
He's
July.
He's gonna be the long reliever in your bullpen by July. So there you go.
Okay, if he's a positive enough contributor to be in the bullpen, cool. That's all right. I'll take that. Maybe Vince Velasquez gets it together. It takes his spot. I don't know. Maybe Spencer Howard takes one of their spots because he's the top prospect. That's cool, too. We got hit waiting in the wings. People forget. Okay, the Atlanta Braves. I didn't want to talk about the Phillies that long. I apologize. They're just going to be really good. The Atlanta Braves have arguably, well, not arguably, he is one of the best players in baseball. You could argue he's the best young player in the game today in Ronald Acuna Jr. They have a strong lineup anchored by Freddie Freeman. You still have Marcell Ozuna there. You have some new additions for the bench in Jake Lamb and hire Adrianza. You bring in Charlie Morton as a free agent, as well as Drew Smiley. They're going to be a solid squad. The Braves, they've had a lot of homegrown guys come up through their system. They've built things the right way. They're going to be a fun squad to watch, not just for this year, but for the future too.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a run for their money last year from Cincinnati at one point, right? That marathon game, and then they kind of took care of business. They should have been in the World Series last year, right? Let's not forget what happened. What? You're making a face here.
If they should have been in the World Series, they would have been. They weren't good enough to
All
make
right,
the
fine.
World Series.
They squandered an opportunity to make the World Series. This year, I think they'll be, in the running. I think they will benefit from the fact that they won't have to play either the Dodgers or Padres in the NLDS, which will help them tremendously. You're upset because I'm picking them to win the division. I know they don't have Matt Moore on their team, but they have other guys that are actually good. So I don't know. They'll be solid. I know you don't like the chop either, so you get to watch that for however many games a year.
They need to outlaw the chop. If I was the president, that's the first thing that I would do is outlaw the tomahawk chop. That would make my life exponentially better. There's nothing worse than watching the Phillies Braves game at like 8:45 on a Tuesday and just hearing it's like, shut up. All right.
Well, no, I'll give you a better scenario that probably will give you a lot of PTSD to past seasons, right? Ninth inning, you're up by 1. Hector Neris gets a couple guys on base, right? Then it starts going a little bit because the rally happens. There's only 1 out. Neris is throwing a lot of balls. Give up a double to like Swanson or somebody. A couple runs come in. Boom, you lose the game. Walk off. That probably happened. I'm just making it up.
Listen, all right? That was the past. And now with this bullpen, that ain't going to happen again. I'm telling you.
Well, Neris is still in there. You name dropped him.
He is, but he's going to be good this year. He's fine. He's going to get back to his 2018 form. He's good. He'll be all right. The Mets were the biggest news getters in the division this offseason. They added a lot. In fact, I think, let me see here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 of the guys on their projected 26-man roster were not there in 2020. So, Francisco Lindor, the big addition, James McCann, probably the second best catcher on the market. They signed him to a 4-year deal. You bring in Jonathan Villar, Albert Amora Jr., Kevin Pillar to anchor your bench. You bring in Taijuan Walker, Joe Lucchesi for your rotation. Of course, you have Jacob deGrom there. Noah Syndergaard will come back. You did bring in Carlos Carrasco. Unfortunately, he did. I think he had a strained hamstring. Yeah. So he'll be out for, I think, at least a month, it said. But then he'll come back. You add Trevor May to your bullpen, Aaron Loop, Jacob Barnes, Mike Montgomery. The Mets, they're going to be a team to watch. The Mets are going to be a good team. They finished last in the division in 2020. Not that that means anything. And, just wanted to make that clear. They finished last in the division in 2020. But the Mets, I think we've talked about this. When the Mets are good, baseball is fun to watch, and I think the Mets are going to be good this year.
Well, they fit into that core group of teams, right? Boston, both New York teams, the Dodgers. That's basically it. Of maybe the Cardinals too, and the Cubs. They're like the teams that when they're good, baseball's good, and it's like that in any sport, right? Team behind me there. If you're watching in the video version, in the basketball side, them and some other teams like the Lakers, Knicks. So I agree in that regard. I mean, the baseball world was definitely buzzing when they were in the World Series a couple of years ago. Hot Take Mike was not very happy at the outcome of that World Series. Shout out Mike Gamba. Yeah, I mean, listen, every Mets fan I've talked to, they're excited because they're finally doing stuff and spending money. Seems like a new kind of energy in there, right? You know, had some stuff happen off the field, and they quickly kind of got rid of that stuff, right, in terms of firing that individual. So it looks like they're spending money, not taking any, nonsense from people in the organization, and it looks like they're kind of starting to, move a little bit.
Well, Matt, I wanted to save this question for the last team, the team that everyone's been waiting for us to preview, this burning question that everyone's been wanting us to answer. After going 57 and 105 in 2019, the Marlins made the playoffs for the first time since 2003 with a 31 and 29 record. Do they go back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in franchise history, or was 2020 a fluke?
2020 was a fluke. You kind of catch lightning in a bottle in a shortened season. You expand that 100 more games. I don't know if they kind of hold to what they were doing. They also, not only the fact that there was 100 less games, basically, there's double the playoff spots, essentially. So they benefited from that. I'm happy for Don Mattingly there and all the young players. And it was a cool story, but at the end of the day, we want to see teams like the Mets be good, not necessarily the Marlins. That was only, their third playoff appearance in team history?
Yeah, and they did ruin the streak of making the playoffs and winning the World Series. The first two times they made the playoffs, they won the World Series. They couldn't keep that up last year.
But I mean, listen, they made a lot of moves organizationally, right, to kind of set themselves up for the future. The one thing I didn't like, Ryan, was they got rid of the fish tanks behind home plate.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in that. Really fun to just turn that on and see a fish tank behind home plate. Can't do that anymore. So because of that, I hope they finish last. I want the fish tank.
I will say they changed the color scheme in the stadium. That neon green wall is no longer there. I mean, they've had this done for a couple of years, but they took away the neon green. Now it's just like a nice shade of blue. And I think it just makes the entire stadium look that much better. They took away that monstrosity in center field. It looks like a baseball stadium now, not like an amusement park attraction. So good on them.
Well, I mean, the uniform choice, I mean, they've just been kind of all over the place, right? And they kind of could get away with it because they've been so bad for however many years. You have like the weird kind of jersey setup they've had for the past couple of years. At one point, they had the orange hats. That was such a big thing, right? Everyone had to get the orange Miami Marlins hat.
I had one.
But, huh?
I had one. I got on that train.
Yeah, I got on it too. But like now I think we're past the gimmicks, and I think they're ready to start building a baseball team. Because, they had the amusement thing in center field, the fish tanks behind the thing, which I will still be mad about, but they're past the gimmicks. So looks like they're going to start building.
I just need them to take care of Sixto Sanchez, my son, who I never got to see pitch for the Philadelphia Phillies. So that is that. Now, to end this surprisingly concise MLB preview, this was originally going to be a couple episodes, but I'm proud of us. We just kept this into one episode. I want to get our predictions, right? This is always going to be fun. We come back to this in October, play the audio. We were way off. Give me your World Series prediction.
Houston and the Dodgers. Actually, it could be really anybody for the American League. Nah, I'm going to stick with my gut. Give me Houston and the Dodgers.
I'm going to agree with you on the Houston pick. I'm going to go San Diego. I'll go Houston and San Diego. So, let's for fun. Let's go through. Give me AL East division winner.
New York.
I agree. Give me AL Central division winner.
Minnesota.
I'll go Chicago. I'll go the Chicago White Sox, and I'll bank on Tony La Russa not being in the way. I'm going.
You can't do it. You can't do it because you know what's going to happen.
You know what? You didn't. Yeah. Okay. I'll say Chicago, and we'll see what happens. I know that they're without Aloy, but I'll keep it. American League West. I imagine
Yeah,
Houston.
Houston.
Yeah, I agree. National League West, Dodgers.
Yeah, give me the Dodgers.
NL Central, Cardinals.
Yeah, there you go, Nick. Cardinals.
You know what? No, Brewers. I'm going with the Brewers. I'll go Brewers in the NL Central. And then NL East, I'll go the Phillies.
I'll take the Braves, sure. I'll take chalk, basically, in every division.
Okay. So we got the division winners, got the World Series winners. Let's do some player awards. So National League MVP.
Oh, man. This could... I don't even know.
I will go first. I will go... I think that Ronald Acuna Jr. gets the MVP this year.
I'm never really good at picking player awards. I'll just agree with you, sure, for the show. How about you give your whole list first, and then you're putting me on the spot here. Let me gather some intel.
Okay, American League MVP. I will go with the. I'm gonna go Shohei Ohtani, AL MVP. NL Cy Young. I'm not gonna bet against Jacob deGrom until he gives me a reason to. I'll go deGrom. American League Cy Young. Shane Bieber. I think it goes back to back. NL Rookie of the Year. It really could be anybody. I will go Sixto Sanchez. AL Rookie of the Year, Jared Kelenic. AL Manager of the Year, I will go with Dusty Baker. And NL Manager of the Year, I will go Jace Tingler.
All right. I'm going to go Tatis for MVP. I'm just going to go National League first.
Okay.
I agree with DeGrom. I just feel like they should just name the award after him at this point. I agree with your Sixto pick, by the way, your son. How bad did it feel to watch him play for the Marlins? And
it wasn't fun. That could have been he could have been wearing red pinstripes.
American League, give me Mike Trout for another wasted MVP award for a crappy team. I agree with your Justin Bieber pick. I agree with your Rookie of the Year pick. For Manager of the Year, Ryan, I'll go with the American League. I'll go Alex Cora. Give me Alex Cora.
Ooh.
National League. See, but Tingler has a good team, though. So, how much is he really going to impact the team to...
I feel... I'm hedging my Dodgers division pick to where if the Padres somehow win that division, he's obviously going to get it. So I'm hedging my bet there.
Sure. I mean, I don't really like giving it to guys just on really good teams, right? Because you look at Coach of the Year in the NFL, Bill Belichick doesn't have as many as you would think compared to how good the Patriots have been. So I don't like just throwing it at the best team in the league for Coach of the Year.
No, Bill should have about at least 15 Coach of the Year awards, but he doesn't.
Yeah, so that's my only reasoning of not going with the top teams usually, but I'll go Tingler. I could see that being the sexy pick in terms of just picking a bunch of Padres to win some awards because they'll be good again. So I could see Major League Baseball doing that.
So when October rolls around or September, I mean, even, come attack us in June when the guys that we picked to do things aren't doing the things that we thought they would. Come attack us in a couple of months. But this was fun, nice, concise. We went through the entire league, all the divisions, got some award winners in there, got some predictions. So that was fun. Enjoyed doing this MLB preview. I don't know what day this will be posted, but it will be posted in time for the start of the MLB season, we're recording this March 25th, so it is a week from today, which is nice. We're a week away. So, Matt, would you like to leave our listeners with any parting wisdom for this MLB preview edition? Just
be happy baseball's back. feels like a real opening day is going to happen. You see all the banners, right, all around the ballpark. You get all the fresh paint on the field. So let's enjoy it. How we're enjoying March Madness right now and how we're going to enjoy the Masters being in actually April and not November. Let's enjoy opening day. We're starting to get there, right? We're starting to get back to normal. And when you're listening to this, Syracuse will probably be in the Final Four. So there you go. I'll leave you with that.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode. We were very excited to do this. We were teasing it for about a month, and we finally got to it. So we want to thank you all for listening. Let's hopefully have a full 162 game Major League Baseball season, and hopefully it'll be one of the best seasons ever. That would be cool. So thank you for listening. We'll catch you all in the next episode.